Good morning. You know, today is a good morning. Today's a good day because it's the beginning of the Masters Golf Tournament. The tournament just got underway just a little bit ago, and it's always such a special time. If you know me, you know how much I love the game of golf. And for me, the Masters is the height of golf. It is the epitome, one of my favorite events of the entire year. I love getting to watch the Masters. As you think back about the Masters, you can't help but think about people like Clifford Roberts and Bobby Jones, the co-founders of Augusta National Golf Club and the co-founders of the Masters Golf Tournament. I've had the opportunity, the privilege on two different occasions to get to go to Augusta National and get to watch two different practice rounds of the Masters. It was back in 2013 that my brother actually won their lottery system for purchasing tickets, and he won 3 tickets, and so my dad and my brother and I had the opportunity to go to a Wednesday practice round. Now, if you're familiar with the Masters, if you've watched the tournament over the years, then you may know that on Wednesday afternoon, they have a tradition of playing a par 3 contest. There's a little 9-hole par 3 course there on the property at Augusta National. And so on Wednesday afternoon, after the players have made their final preparations for the tournament, they'll go over to the par 3 course and they'll have some fun over there. But it's always a neat tradition because not only do you get today's stars of the game playing in the par 3, but it's also an opportunity for some of the past champions and the greats of the game to come back and play in that. And so in 2013, when we went, we had the opportunity to see some of my heroes of the game, people like Gary Player and Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer. The 3 of them were playing in a group together that day. In fact, it would be one of the last years that Arnold Palmer would get to play in the par 3 contest before his health deteriorated to a point where he couldn't play anymore. And it was such a special memory that I will always have of getting to watch them play. But when Arnold Palmer talks about Augusta National and the Masters, he always talks about one of his heroes, Bobby Jones. You know, Bobby Jones was such an incredible man. He was actually an attorney by practice and as a career, but he was an avid golfer and a very good golfer. He always remained an amateur throughout his life. He made his living through law, but he enjoyed the game of golf and he was very good at it. He actually won 13 major championships during his day back in the 1920s and 1930s. It was in the 1925 U.S. Open that Arnold Palmer told a story about Bobby Jones. In 1925, Bobby Jones was playing in that U.S. Open, and in those days, they just played 3 rounds instead of 4 rounds like they do today. And at the end of 3 rounds, Bobby Jones was tied with a man named Willie McFarlane for the lead. So because they were tied, it was going to go to a 36-hole playoff. And at the end of that 36-hole playoff, Willie McFarlane had beat Bobby Jones by 1 stroke. But what everybody was talking about was something that had taken place on the first round of the tournament on the 11th hole. On that day, on the 11th hole, Bobby Jones found himself in the rough, just off the fairway. He was getting ready to set up and hit his second shot when he said that suddenly he looked down and he noticed his ball, or his club, had grazed the ball. It caused it to move. And in golf, whenever you make the ball move, whether you intend to or not, it's a 1-stroke penalty. Now, there was actually nobody else around who saw the ball move, and so Bobby Jones called over the rules official and told him what had taken place. And the rules official said, well, we didn't see it move. Nobody else saw it move. Of course, in those days, you didn't have TV cameras, so they couldn't go back and watch the film to see if it had moved. And so the rules official ultimately said to Mr. Jones, you get to decide what you want to do. If you want to assess yourself the penalty or not. Because nobody else saw it, we can't say for certain, so we're going to leave the decision up to you. Well, Bobby Jones decided to assess himself the penalty because he was sure that he had made the ball move. So that 1-stroke penalty that he assessed himself on the first day of the tournament, well, ultimately that's what caused him to go to the playoff. If it hadn't been for that penalty, he would have won the tournament in regulation. You know, Bobby Jones was asked about it afterwards, and everybody was giving him accolades and praise and talking about how special it was that he had the integrity and the honesty to do the right thing and assess himself this penalty, even though he didn't have to. And Bobby Jones couldn't understand why everybody was getting worked up about this, why everybody thought it was such a big deal. He said, you might as well praise a man for not robbing a bank as to praise him for playing by the rules. That quote has always stuck with me. You might as well praise a man for not robbing a bank as for playing by the rules. Bobby Jones understood what it meant to live with a spirit of integrity, to do the right thing simply because it's the right thing to do. Not because you're going to get something out of it, or because everybody's going to give you accolades and praise. Nobody else saw the ball move, and nobody would have faulted him if he hadn't taken that penalty stroke. But he knew it was the right thing. I think as followers of Christ, you and I are called to that same kind of standard of living. To do the right thing simply because it's the right thing to do. Not because necessarily somebody else is going to see it, or because of the benefits that we will get out of it, or the praise and the accolades. No, we're called to do the right thing because that's what God asks of us. So as we go about our week this week, as we go through this weekend, this Masters weekend, I hope that you and I will remember and live in the spirit of Bobby Jones, a man of integrity, a man who did the right thing simply because it was the right thing to do. I hope you have a great day today, and I hope you enjoy the Masters.